Hello everyone, this is Mr. Reimer. This video is called Classical Greece and it is for World History class on Friday, October 2nd and Monday, October 5th. Our objective is to explain the major effects of the development of the classical civilization of Greece by responding to a prompt. All right, before we get into that, let's warm up our brains with a preview, think back to our last lesson on classical Persia. If you had a choice, would you have wanted to live in classical Persia? Explain. So pause the video and write this down, or I'll see you in the chat. Pause it now. All right. Thank you for pausing it. Hope we had a great discussion about whether we would would not have wanted to live in classical Persia. Now, before we get into classical Greece, I want to review one of the get sick themes from last time. Again, I'm trying to let you into my head. Hopefully you have your notes out, okay, your get sick chart, and I want you to take this opportunity to compare your notes to my notes, right? So you are the learner, you are the young Padawan, right? And I'm the Jedi Master, okay? So you want your notes to eventually be looking like my notes. And how are you going to do that? Well, you need to have them side by side so you can see how you did and how I did. So I chose the C, the very last theme, cultural development and interaction. For a number of reasons. One, it's incredibly important and influential, and I just find it really, really interesting. So here's what I wrote down in my notes after reading chapter 3, lesson 3 about classical Persian culture. They had a religion called Zoroastrianism, named after Zoroaster, chief prophet. And one of the key features of this religion is it was monotheistic, one God. It's the first in world history to have a purely monotheistic religion. Those of you who are Christian or Muslim or Jewish, right, your monotheistic religion has ties and has similarities to this religion called Zoroastrianism. So let's be looking for those as we look at my notes. So Zoroaster taught that there was a supreme God, and only one. His name was Ahura Mazda, and this was a God who created all things and was all good. Sounding familiar to you Christians out there? And he was opposed by a spirit, not a god, but a spirit called Ahriman, who was all evil. And Zoroaster also taught that humans have this freedom to pick right and wrong. So in my notes, as you're looking at your notes, hopefully you're seeing that I didn't write down word for word what was in the book. I put the notes in my own words. Because when you do that, you are getting the information deeper into your brain so it'll stay there longer. All right. Now, Zoroaster also taught that after a struggle between good and evil, Ahura Mazda wins, and the good doers go to paradise, and the evildoers get tormented. So if this sounds a lot like what the Christian Bible teaches about heaven and hell, and about the forces of evil, of the devil, of Satan, battling against the forces of the light, the angels and the Holy Spirit, then yeah, there are a lot of similarities between these two teachings. All right, so that's a review of what my notes look like after reading chapter 3, lesson 3. If your notes didn't look like this, hopefully you added to your notes what I put in my notes, and in the future, be making your notes look more like my notes. Short, non-sentences in your own words. All right, let's move on to classical Greece. So another get sick chart, this time from chapter 4, lesson 3 and 4. Now, our book is a bit biased, I must admit. It has a whole chapter on classical Greece and only one section on classical Persia. It should have had more chapters, more sections on classical Persia, and less on classical Greece. So we're only going to read two of those lessons. So let's head over to the textbook. Here we are in chapter 4. Now, last time I don't think I gave enough importance to what I said about how important the introductions are. And I don't just mean to the sections, the introductions to the chapters as well. They give you the context. Remember, that's one of our historical skills. Context, setting the stage, letting the readers know what happened before. Think about those television episodes. Think about those nesting dolls, that image I gave you. Okay. So introductions, they do this, right? They situate you in the time and place. Okay. Read them. Absolutely read them. And if you're crunched on time, sometimes this might be all the time you have to read. So, ancient Greek culture first emerged around 1600 BC in Mycenae, which developed a powerful military and participated in a wide trading network. Ding, 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 right? You're thinking about Phoenicians right here, like, oh, trading networks, Mediterranean, okay. Over the next 1,000 years, Greek society organized itself into city-states. Another ding, ding, ding. You know this term. What else, or where else had city-states? Ancient Sumer. Remember, state, independent, sovereign, political unit ruled by formal government, and a city, large urban area. The most famous of which were Athens and Sparta, that served as centers of political, religious, and cultural life. In Athens, during the mid-4th century, Pericles developed a direct democracy in which all male citizens played a direct role in government decision-making. You're like, ding, 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 like I'm making connections right now to what's going on in our country right now. I don't know how you don't know, if you don't know, that we have an election going on right now for many different offices, including the President of the United States, right? And we, the people, citizens of this country, are going to elect the next president. We're going to let our voice be heard. We are going to play a role in the government decision making by electing our leaders. This is a kind of democracy that has its roots in ancient Greece. I'm sorry, in classical Greece. Introductions are incredibly important. Read them. Now, up here at the top, you see the different sections of the book. I want to point out this place and time and how cool this is, because again, it situates you into the bigger picture. And it has some cool videos. So by clicking on here, it brings up this video. And so since it's a great introduction to classical Greece, I thought I would just play it for you right now.
The mountainous peninsula and many islands that form the homeland of the ancient Greeks made farming difficult but encouraged seafaring. The earliest Greek civilization was that of the Mycenaeans, a warrior society, whose most famous military adventure, the Trojan War, was recounted by the epic poet Homer. Isolated from one another by mountains and seas, Greek communities developed into fiercely independent, competitive city-states such as Sparta and Athens, where the first democracy developed. The Greek city-states united to resist repeated invasions by the Persian Empire. But later, Athens and Sparta fought the long, destructive Peloponnesian War for leadership of Greece. Through trade and colonization, Greek civilization was spread throughout the Mediterranean and Black Sea coasts. The conquests of Alexander the Great later continued this process, and the Greek-based Hellenistic civilization influences the peoples of his empire.
Okay, so right there, we got a great overview of what you're going to read in this chapter. And I want you to pause the video and add to your notes. We learned some key information about classical Greek characteristics from not just this video, but the previous page. So meet me in the chat and tell me what information you learned and where it should go on your Get Sick charts. Pause the video now. All right, so I hope we had a great discussion. You added to your chart. Let's add a lot more by digging deeper into lesson 3. Now, who remembers, what do you do first when you have a reading assignment? That's right, you skim it. So you're reading with a purpose. Your purpose is to gather information about classical Greece. What else did I say today? Read the introduction. Look, it matters because right here, classical Greece is the name given to the period of Greek history from around 500 BC to the conquest of Greece by the Macedonian king Philip II and 338 BC. This period was marked not only by a brilliant culture, but also by a disastrous war among the Greeks, the Peloponnesian War. So right away, you're cluing in. Like, there's going to be a lot of information about Greek culture. I'm going to be needing to look for that. So, and there's going to be some wars. Now, are wars a big part of our Get Sig chart? Not really, kind of. Where do they fall in the Get Sig chart? They go in the governance category. Why? Because wars are fought usually between states. States being governing structures. Wars fall under that category. How important are they in this class? Not that important. So, can you kind of just briefly skim over them? Yeah. If you're really into that, go back and read it on your own after you've done the assignment. So here we go. Challenge of Persia. All right. And then the Athenian Empire. Okay. Empire, political term. Might want to come back to that. Find out why and how it became an empire. See, we're seeing some bolded terms here. Direct democracy. We already were learning about that in the introduction. Gonna want to come back here and add some more information for governance. But governance is only one part of our Get Sig chart. We're gonna have to get more. Let's keep going. Daily life in classical Athens. Daily life. That's all about social interactions and organization. Look, economy. Hey, where do I go for the E? Right here. Where do I go for some more S? Right here. Society. We're actually going to come back to that in just a minute. All right, we're skimming. Okay, more about Greek society. I'm seeing about women. Definitely great information there. Gonna want to come back. And when it ends, this section ends with the Great Peloponnesian War. Again, did I say wars were really that important? Not really. If you're into it, come back and read it if you want after you've done your other task. All right, that was lesson 3. Remember, you also have to do lesson 4. You're like, wait a minute, I haven't read anything about Greek culture. What's going on? What's in lesson 4? Classical Greek culture. Whole lesson all about Greek culture, Greek religion, architecture, sculpture, writing, drama, philosophy. Wow, they had a major influence on culture. Are you going to want to spend a lot of time here? Yeah, you're going to want to spend a lot of time in lesson 4. Now, I want to model back here in lesson 3 that part on daily life in classical Athens. So let's read this together, and then I'm going to add to my notes so you're learning from me. By the 5th century BC, Athens had the largest population of the Greek city-states. Before the plague in 430 BC, there were about 300,000 people living in Athens and the surrounding. Do I need to write down all these numbers? No, not really. Right? I want to know about daily life. About 43,000 of them were adult male citizens, meaning they had political power. Oh, okay. Who had power in Athens, Greece? When we go over to the chart, we're going to go to our social interactions and organization. That's where we're going to want to put adult males had power. Though they were citizens, foreigners were also subject to some of the responsibilities of citizens, such as military service. You might want to add that. Look at this. Slaves, numbered around 100,000. Slavery was common. Slaves in Athens were not considered citizens. Most often worked in the fields or in the home as cooks and maids. So here, right, we're seeing who had power and who didn't have power in classical Athens. That's what we want to put here in this section on social interactions and organization. All right, I'm running short on time. Let's get to our process. It's the exact same question as classical Persia. What were the major effects and lasting influences? So go back, circle, list, highlight all the influences, and then you decide which were the most important. At least one, no more than 3. I'm looking for one sentence. You're giving me your argument. Think back of the other video from today. You're looking for a specificity that's not too hot, not too cold, but just right. Work on it. Practice. I'll see you next time.